Hello, it's December 9th, 2022, and we are working to create a parallel society given the occurrences that have taken place throughout the past 3 years and how we, the people of the United States, Christians and patriots all across the country, are aware of how corrupt and compromised the institutions, the organizations, and the governments of the world are. The good news is that millions of us are awake and aware of what's going on, and all over social media and through a lot of other platforms, people will discuss all day explaining what the plans of the opposition are and elaborating on all the injustices taking place and exposing the corruption. And that's good. That's half the battle, is waking people up. But at this point, there's so many of us that are awake that it's wise to start to create solutions. And the solution that we're working on is separating from the corrupt establishment and rebuilding a government system that is founded on the truths found in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution as a starting point. So separating from the organization of the American government, but taking the ideas and ultimately the design of America that is found in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, and using those as unifying points to start to rebuild a structure in society that would be the government, that's not necessarily in a building, but it's the people uniting in the values of America. Because even though the establishment organization of the United States government is unredeemably corrupt, the idea of America still lives on, and it's still the best designs for a free and a fair government that would be for and by the people. So the idea and the design of America is still usable, although the current administration or both parties really are beyond fixing. We can still use them as a secondary method for change, if there's an opportunity to vote or something like that. Instead of fighting against the system or trying to weed out all the vast corruption, it's smart to just cut our losses and to separate entirely and unify as the people, because there's already so many of us that are aware of how corrupt and how unjust and how compromised those institutions are. We can combine our efforts and come together in some common goals and start to put our minds and our lives together. I've gone over 3 points of unity in a previous video. Also discussed how we can begin to boycott the businesses that are owned by these corrupt institutions and pull our finances out of them. That's a tactic that was used at the inception of America during the beginning portions of when, the revolution really began. And if 80 million of us withdraw our finances from the Rhino Party, withdraw our finances from businesses like Amazon and Target and big banks, and other platforms, other businesses that are violating our rights and that have been working hand in hand with the agendas of this global takeover, then that can have tremendous impact. And if we start to direct our finances for everyday needs, everyday resources towards patriot-owned businesses and organizations that have morals, if you know of a Christian business or something. In California, we have Chick-fil-A. Instead of going to Burger King or something, one of these big box stores that are corporately owned, likely by corrupt people, you can shop with like Chick-fil-A, for instance, that we know is a Christian business that doesn't promote the immorality of the culture. Simple changes like this, combined by millions of Americans collectively taking action in this way, can make a huge difference. So if we do that independently in our own personal lives and encourage other people to also boycott big businesses, not necessarily to encourage them to do what we want them to do, because that's kind of a lost cause. They're going on direction that is destructive, and it has been pretty clear that they have no intentions of subsiding, whether the people petition them or petition the government for them to change. They know that they're in all-out war posturing with the free citizens of the world. So it's best to just leave them to their own devices, allow them to self-destruct, but we take our lives and our finances and our resources out of their systems and begin to partner together across the nation, across state lines, in an allegiance of a godly mission and a righteous design for society, and working for a design for society that is in alignment with its natural order. So we see a need for parallel outlets for our everyday services, our everyday resources, school system, education system, government system that is not corrupted and compromised. Ways to get our resources where our human rights are going to be respected in the near future as they continue to advance other agendas and other goals that violate God's design for society. Now's this time to start to prepare and start to unite as the people to create new platforms for everyday needs and resources and our day-to-day activities and whatever we need as human beings to have a flourishing society. When all of us come together, 80 million or more of us, and eventually it'll probably be well over 80 million of us that don't want to go along with the nonsense. If we put our efforts together, people from all different trades, all different backgrounds, all different intelligence levels, and begin to build a parallel society, then we can have our needs met in a widespread way and have a network of patriots who are united, not necessarily establishment system to start with, but a nation of people who have common values and common goals moving forward to create a society that is in alignment with our values. So eventually, once this movement begins to really ramp up, and there's not really another option as we move forward into this society where we have this global enemy, we can create a platform to vote amongst ourselves and elect leaders into a separate Congress, a separate Senate, a separate executive branch, and there will be people who are Christians who don't have corrupt ties to compromised organizations. There's going to be a need for trading and bartering. They're coming in with this digital currency that the government can turn off. And the fact that we're aware of this ahead of time is good. Before they really start to unroll it, we can start to prepare as the people. So many patriots across this country have already taken their savings and converted it to gold and silver. I agree with that idea. I think that we could all do that and eventually create a new currency. Did you know at the founding of the country, after the signing of the Constitution, the government of America decided to set the ounce of gold cost to $20 per ounce. In today's economy, 1 ounce of gold is worth $1,700. So that goes to show how poorly they've handled the economy. Imagine what you could buy with $1,700. That's how much you could buy with $20 back in the 1780s. And the founders had far less technology than we have today, and if they were able to organize together as the people and come together and come up with some solutions about economy and society and business and borders and all that, we are just as capable. So it's wise to get out of this mindset of continuing to look to the power structures for solutions when this power structure is fallen and compromised. Let's start to believe that we can accomplish great things, because we really can. There's so many of us, people from all different backgrounds, all different ethnicities, all different trades, and if we put our will and our effort together, we can create a strong network of Christians who live according to God's design for society, free from the establishment. Also, it's going to be important to have a resolve collectively across this nation in the hearts of all the people who don't want to give in to this world order that they're trying to bring in. A resolve, a determination to be willing to not go along with policies or agendas or trends that violate God's design for humanity and for the world. Having a heart of courage and a willingness to say no. If your workplace is wanting to teach you some policies or perspectives about the world that have to do with gender or race, you say no. It takes a certain measure of courage to say no to these injustices, or else over time they continue to get the people to compromise a little more, a little more, a little more, and it brings in a culture in society that people just start to accept that this is the way it is, and it will be the way it is if people keep complying. But if we hold the line for traditional values and the culture of heaven in society, then that will be the way that it is. And there's enough of us who don't consent with their nonsense and their immorality and their violation of our rights that we have the ability to be a holy nation. So I'm going to read from the book of Revelations. It talks about the fall of Babylon. Some people speculate that this is referring to America, and I kind of think it is, but I'm not going to build a theology on it or try and convince you that it is America. Either way, there is some similarities to the time that we're in right now as Americans. It says here, following this, I saw another angel descend from heaven. His authority was immense. His glory flooded earth with brightness, his voice thunderous. Ruined, ruined, great Babylon ruined. A ghost town for demons is all that's left. A garrison of carrion spirits. Garrison of loathsome carrion birds. All nations drank the wild wine of her whoring. Kings of the earth went whoring with her. Entrepreneurs made millions exploiting her. Just then I heard another shout from heaven. Get out, my people, as fast as you can, so you don't get mixed up in her sins, so you don't get caught in her doom. Her sins stink to high heaven. God has remembered every evil she's done. Give her back what she's given. Double what she's doubled in her works. Double the recipe in the cup she mixed. Bring her flaunting in wild ways to torment and tears, because she gloated, I'm queen over all and no widow, never a tear on my face. In one day disaster will crush her, death, heartbreak, famine. Then she'll be burned by fire, because God, the strong God who judges her, has had enough. So this part specifically is what I wanted to mention. Get out, my people, as fast as you can, so you don't get mixed up in her sins. So whether that's referring to the United States of America or not, I believe that we are in a time like this, as many other people believe, that America has become like this Babylonian system or this Egypt-like system, and it's time for God's people to evacuate and to have an exodus from that system. But we're still here on this earth, and Jesus could return tomorrow, or he could return 10,000 years from now, and we should be found when he returns doing what he's called us to do. And that includes setting up a civil society that's founded on God's morals and God's design and righteousness, a community of believers living together harmoniously with one another and working for peace on earth and goodwill toward mankind. So that touches every aspect of life, and if we come together as the people and start to build a society that's founded on God's ways, first of all, it's for our own survival, because they're coming in with their agendas whether we like it or not, and there are predictions of serious supply chain breakdowns. We already see it in the stores, but it's also our duty in general to work for a Christian society. So where do we begin? Every aspect of society we're going to need to some extent. Resources, education, free places to work, free places to shop, a economy that's separate from their controlled currency, all that. Some places to start are boycotting and starting to fund the businesses that are doing good. That's going to empower those businesses. That's going to get us in the habit of not shopping and not doing business and not doing life with those other institutions that are being used by these global terrorists. And also signing the Redeclaration of Independence, because this is a point of organization where we can unite as the people upon some common values, following the example of the founders as far as creating a new government system where we can govern amongst ourselves as Christians, as Americans who believe in the truths found in the original Declaration of Independence and who see the Constitution as a good design to rebuild a government upon. So go ahead and sign that below and share that. And share these views, the ones that you agree with, as far as boycotting and creating a new parallel society and civilization. A main part of the victory is having unity and being in one accord, like Martin Luther King during the Civil Rights Movement. They combined their efforts to boycott and to peacefully not comply with the injustices. So we have tremendous power as the people when we unite our efforts together under some common values, even though we're separated by maybe great distances across the country. We can still unite in values and mission across the United States, across state lines, and secure victory and secure a civil society where we are free to live our lives the way that God designed us to live.